Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Today we have joining us an amazing, fantastic, just beautiful stylist and CEO. We have Amanda Weil with us today. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. So excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited about today's conversation. So before we get started, you all grab yourself a pen, and I hope in this time you have a dedicated notebook because we're going to drop some gems on you today. Yes. So Amanda, she is a soul stylist and the CEO of Style Awakenings. She is the go-to expert in the fashion. Oh my goodness, I am so excited about this. She has helped. She has been an expert and helped people in the capacity like CEOs or entrepreneurs, celebrities, TV show hosts, and career professionals. Right. So she is the go-to person if you want to be empowered to, I guess, awaken your style, right? And express who you are and having that connect. And that is so important, especially in this arena of trauma, right? How we feel on the inside, it reflects how we look and how we present ourselves on the inside. So today we're going to get into a fantastic conversation about bridging those two together and showing up in the world as your very, very best self, right?
Yes.
So, Amanda, before we get started, we always kick off with this one question.
Okay.
What does Get Trauma Informed mean to you?
Oh, gosh. I was thinking about this actually yesterday, just preparing for this. So I think Get Trauma Informed means that you understand what's actually going on within you, because all of us have experienced trauma, and it can be a wide range of trauma. I think sometimes people hear the word trauma and they think that it has to be something like a sexual abuse, or they think that it has to be something really, really big in order to say they've experienced trauma. Yet the reality is we've all experienced it, and we maybe even experienced it in the womb or in previous lineages. So I really feel like Get Trauma Informed means you understand what's going on within you and how the trauma is holding you back in a certain way so that you can move through it. So that's really my take on it.
I love that because oftentimes we don't, and that's what the Get Trauma Informed movement is all about. And I love your style awakenings, because that's what it is for us to, oftentimes we're moving through life, making decisions, and we don't know that we're doing that from a trauma lens.
Yes.
So the more we can understand that, the more we can bridge that gap, the better that we can show up in the world as our full self. So let's dive into your world, because I'm excited about all that you do. And, your energy was just so amazing. Your style is fantastic. I just take my hat off to you. I love the way you put it all and pull it all together. So let's dive in. Tell us about what it is that you do.
Yes. Gosh, I'm so excited to share this because we've touched on the style part, and the reality is like it's so much deeper than the style. So really my goal when I work with clients is to help them get clear, number one, on their inner essence. Who is that person within? Like, let's reawaken that joy, that prosperity, that abundance. Like, let's get really clear on who you are, and let's get really clear on where you're going and what you're creating in your life and what you're stepping into. Essentially, who do you want to be when you grow up? And it's from that place that we then craft a style that really aligns with that man or woman that you're becoming so that you can start acting as if now. So it's really about bringing in the energy, bringing in the intentionality now, as if you've already achieved those goals or you've already stepped into that version of you, because that's how you bring it to fruition faster. So it's like using style as a manifestation tool. And it works because you're doing the inner work and you're also taking the action of being.
I love that. I absolutely love that. you just touched on something, who you are right now, like the moment, because oftentimes when you're working in trauma, you're looking at the destiny, because you're looking at it. I always liken it to a kaleidoscope. So you're looking at life in a distorted manner. And what I hear you saying is that let's pull it into this moment right now. Let's be fully present in this
Yes.
moment right now.
All we have is right now, right?
Yes.
We have no idea what tomorrow will bring. We have no idea what the next hour will bring. So all we have is right now. And I love that you brought that up, because there's so many people who are so focused on the future that they actually keep pushing it out, because they play this game of if then, like if that happens, if I heal this trauma, if I get the job I want, if I step into the relationship, then I'll start showing up a certain way. Then I'll elevate my wardrobe. If I lose the weight, then I'll start dressing differently. And they just keep pushing it out because they're not embracing and loving on who they are right now and where they are right now. And it's when
Yes.
you bring that into the present moment and you can just stop and slow down, that you fully embrace who you are, you fall back in love with who you are, you start showing up differently. And it actually, that's what then creates that future. So I think a lot of people have manifesting wrong, or they have this way of living wrong where they just like keep pushing it out. And I always correct people with so much love, like, hey, you're pushing out your healing, or you're pushing out your dreams, because you're not allowing yourself to just be it now, even if it hasn't come to fruition in in the physical, in the 3D. It's in your heart because it's here. So own it.
That's healing. That is absolutely healing. That is such a part of recovery. I've shared my story and why I'm so, passionate about this Get Trauma Informed movement, because just what you just described, I'd lived in that for years. I mean, for years and years. And my trauma started in womb. So I've had trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. So I dealt with complex PTSD my entire life. And really, I can just say that in full circle, this year brought about so many amazing changes for me. And it just brought this whole movement to just, I mean, like staying in your self-care. And I didn't do that. And that's how my trauma experience was. I didn't know how to live in the present. The present was so painful that I only lived in the future and what I saw it was going to be. But when I embraced it, my dad used to say this all the time. He used to say, take off the rose colored glasses,
Yeah.
right? And he say, stop and smell the roses. I had no idea what he meant. Okay, dad, one day. And I just kept going. But
Right.
today, I love what you're saying. I love it. This is so healing.
And what you were saying too, like it's beautiful to have big vision. I mean, I am such a visionary, and I've got like the next 10 years, 20 years of my vision. However, like you were saying, we can't let ourselves be so focused on that we forget to just smile today, and we forget to notice the small, like every little thing, like stopping and enjoying your cup of coffee.
Yes.
Right? Like stopping. I have a little puppy, I was telling you, and she's been such a good reminder for me to just stop and be present with every moment. Like, oh, there's a bee. Oh, there's a hummingbird. Wow, isn't that cool? And it's just like, yeah, it is actually really cool. So it's great to have that vision, yet like be here in reality now. Otherwise, you're always future casting, future thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love that you're bringing that to just a reminder to stay here in the present. And then the thing of it is too, is oftentimes with trauma, we swallow it and we
Yes.
bury it and we don't deal with it. And I think that's the part right there. Dealing with your trauma and then moving, not staying stuck in it, and then moving towards all of those big visions. Like I'm a visionary, and sometimes I'm way up there, and folks around me have to say, wait a minute, you jumped out the plane again. Where's your, but that's
Right.
me. But living in that, like seeing, having that vision is amazing. But now I am just now learning how to embrace the things that you just said. You talked about, and then one of the things when you were talking about the hummingbird and you're talking about the bee, and it's like, how do we see things, like changing our paradigm? Because before you would say bee, and I'm like, no, I'm running. I don't want to. But if you see it that way, in that fear mode or that fear lens, versus looking at it at the beauty of what that bee is doing, or the beauty of even just taking a warm shower and absolutely just being present in that, feeling that warm water versus jumping in the shower, cleaning, and then jumping out. but just
Yep.
embracing it, you know.
Yes.
So I love that.
Yes. And what you were saying too about the healing, for sure, like allowing yourself to be in the present moment so that you can be present with your emotions. Because I agree with you. It's interesting. Like a lot of my clients think they're coming to me to just revamp their style, and they don't realize that we go deep into what they truly want and what's holding them back from achieving that. And so we're able to uncover a lot of things that they are bottling up. I think a lot of times people are scared to express emotion. They're scared to, oh no, I feel like I'm going to cry. Oh no, don't cry. It's like, no, cry. If you need to cry, it's because something needs to leave your body. If you're having a not so great day, if you're not feeling super motivated, it's okay. Like, don't make it wrong. It's okay. And maybe just get a little curious as to why you're feeling that way. Is there something else you need to release? Or do you just need to go take a nap? And like
Yes.
right? Like giving ourselves permission to be and feel how we feel. And that's something that I've really been working on this year, because I would just push it aside. Like, no, 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 I've got stuff to do. I got to be focused. But now I'm like, huh, that's interesting. Why am I feeling a little sad today? What's going on? It's okay. Like, it's okay if I am. Like, tomorrow's a new day. And it's just like, it's like going easy on yourself
Yes.
versus like beating yourself up for it. Because if you keep beating yourself up for feeling a certain way, you're just continuing that. Like, right? You're just continuing
Yes.
the trauma.
Yes. We just did a 6-part series on PTSD in the military. And
Oh,
one of
wow.
and my guests there, after we went through that 6-part series, he said, this has been so helpful for me in understanding how to put a self-care plan into place, because he didn't have a self-care plan into place. So he was on that same cycle over and over again. And then we discovered, he said, wow, you're right. I'm abusing myself.
Yes.
Instead of loving myself and giving myself grace, I'm abusing myself.
Yes. And then the world and all the people around you are going to give that right back to you,
Yes.
because the world is a mirror. So how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you think about yourself, that's exactly what you're going to get back.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm so happy that you started your podcast. I'm just jumping into this right now. I'm so happy that you started your podcast, because everything that you're saying is a part of self-care. And it's sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you know you didn't know it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you
Yes.
just don't know. I got that from one of my mentors, but I thought about that for a minute. I was like, you don't even know the beauty of, like, outside of trauma, on the other side of the experience, we don't understand how much beauty there is until we start to, like, embrace it. And so your voice and you and what you're saying, can you tell us a little bit about your podcast? Let's talk about that a little bit.
It's my podcast, Style Awakenings podcast. Yes, I mean, similar to you being on this path of a movement, I feel like that's what's in my heart too, is this movement of helping people understand that the intentionality of style can truly change your life, that it is not about just material things or having all the designer or having the latest and what's on trend. Yet when you really, really understand yourself and you understand how to show up so that your inner and outer are in complete authenticity, it truly will propel you forward. And I've seen that healing and I've seen that transformation in so many of my clients. So
Yes.
I'm on this path of like this movement for people to rethink style, to rethink the importance of it, and to rethink what they're actually putting on their body and how it's impacting their energy and how it's shaping their future. So that's really what my podcast is about. And the different guests that I'm bringing on, some of them are in the fashion industry, some of them are intuitives and coaches, because we're all speaking the same language. And I'm ensuring that if they're in the fashion world, that I'm bringing in, they really understand the power of their clothes, and they really understand that it's the intentionality that's not just to like be on trend and then people tell you you look amazing, right? It's not about that. It's they really understand that their clothes are truly impacting people on a deeper level. So that's what it's really about, that to create this understanding in people, and so they realize, like, gosh, I need to take a little bit more time to focus on what I'm putting on my body.
Can you give us a little bit, for people that don't understand what that means? Can you give us a little bit, maybe just a, like, give away the whole farm, but just a little tidbit about what does that mean when you say that? Because I know a point in time when I was going through, suffering with depression, everything I put on was black, and I didn't even realize it. It was either black or navy blue. It was just dark. So can you
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit about how that impacts us and what that means?
Absolutely. And I have another client where it was the same when we were detoxing her closet, everything was black and brown. And she was actually going through depression at that time as well. A lot of people use clothing to hide, whether it's to hide weight or whether it's to hide your true self, or whether it's because you're not feeling great about yourself, so you want to hide. So a lot of times people will use dark colors, or they'll use clothing that's actually too big for them. And so it starts, number one, with, I always take people through, like, the first phase is awareness and getting clear on your vision, getting clear on what you're stepping into, getting clear on what you want to create in your life, and getting clear on how you need to show up now as if you were already that person. So I always take people through a visualization as if you've already achieved the big goal, whatever it is in your heart, you've already achieved it. And now you're going out to celebrate. And when you go to your closet and you open the doors, what are you seeing? What colors are you seeing? What silhouettes are you seeing? What fabrics are you feeling? And what are you putting on your body? And it's just like step one is the awareness. And if people are like, well, I have no idea, then okay, then just allow yourself to start noticing what people are wearing. Allow yourself to start noticing what maybe your favorite actors, actresses, TV show characters are wearing, and start to see if there's a theme. Like, are you really loving everyone that has on these really cool blazers? Are you loving everyone that has on a specific color? And that's how you start to craft your style vision. And then it's also about like playing and just putting on different pieces and see what lights you up from a color perspective, from a fabric perspective, from a silhouette perspective. So it's step one is the awareness. So for anyone who's not sure, like, is my style reflecting me? Just pause and ask yourself, like, when you put your clothes on in the morning, how do you feel? Do you feel
Mhm.
empowered, or do you feel stuck in your depression? And
Yes.
what could you put on your body to feel empowered? And it doesn't have to be a whole wardrobe revamp. What's one piece that would just make you feel better? And just it's starting there. It's like awareness is step one.
Awareness. And that's the same thing in the trauma movement. Like you said, we're all speaking the same language because awareness. Oftentimes we don't know that we're making decisions through that trauma lens. And once we understand that, then I just want everybody to understand that there is light and life and a thinner air, if you will, on the other side of that. So I don't want us to like just totally stay stuck in the trauma. Yes, this was horrible. This happened to us. Again, I say trauma is not your fault. However, recovery is your responsibility. And these are the tools as we are, unraveling. These are the tools to help you to stay in that, or to get into recovery and then to stay in recovery and not go into relapse. So I thank you for that. We talked a little bit about releasing tension and energy work. That's another big one.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so after the vision, after the awareness, that's really step two. So like all these phases are happening before I'm even taking people shopping, or before I'm even creating outfits, because you can't just walk into a store and say, hey, let's go shopping. I mean, some stylists do that. That's amazing. Yet for me, that doesn't allow the true transformation, and doesn't allow us to get to the heart of things initially. So it's like you've got the vision, and then you move into the detox phase, because it's really about letting go of any of those limiting beliefs, any of the trauma informed beliefs, anything that is currently running your present and will be running your future unless you let it go. And there's a lot that I can tell about people in their closet based on what they're holding on to. So is there a lot of scarcity thinking going on because you have all these pieces that you're not really wearing, they don't really fit you anymore, yet you're holding on to it because you're scared that maybe you don't have the money to buy something new, or you're scared that maybe you can't find something else, or maybe it's a worthiness conversation that you don't think you deserve new clothes. Right? So there's a lot of energy. Like, clothing is made up of energy like everything else. So if there's stagnant energy in your closet, there's stagnant energy everywhere in your life. I mean, the way you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's really beautiful to go into your closet and start to release those pieces that maybe have negative energy associated with it, or negative, thoughts around it, or they just don't fit you, or they don't feel like you anymore. It's okay to give yourself permission to let them go, because you have to make space for what you're stepping into. So you can't just like start adding more stuff into your life and more stuff into your closet unless you make the space. So it's that detoxification. And typically as I'm doing that with clients, we're feeling into the energy of their body, and we're looking at the chakras and maybe where they feel that there's a little bit of stagnancy, a little bit of stuckness. And so while we're detoxing their closet in the physical, I'm also helping them release what's going on within, because it really does go hand in hand.
It's
And
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. Do you have any stories? I mean, without breaking client privilege or anything like that, but do you have any general stories of what that looks like for somebody that this is all new to? You know, what is an example of, starting stuck and then ending up in a flow?
Yes, I can share one because I actually wrote a blog about it. So I know I have her permission to share it. Um, One of my clients, as we were going through her closet detoxing, we noticed that she had a lot of turtlenecks, a lot of like turtleneck sweaters, turtleneck. And I'm like, girl, you live in Texas. So when are you wearing these turtlenecks? Right. And it was so amazing. We were able to, like, obviously there was more involved in the process, yet we were able to fast forward and get to the point where she realized that her whole goal was to be speaking her truth. Her whole goal was to like stop people pleasing and to really speak up and speak what is on her heart and on her mind. So we realized that she was wearing all the turtlenecks to cover her throat chakra, which is speaking your truth. And it was like a light bulb went off when she realized that. And she was like, and she did not want to purge any of those turtlenecks. Like, we had to keep going back to the turtlenecks. And finally she was like, oh my gosh, I'm blocking my voice. I'm blocking my throat. Let me tell you, I think every single turtleneck except for two out the door.
Okay.
And she has had a total metamorphosis, like a total change. She's now joined me in Paris for a retreat. She's joined me in Milan for a retreat. She is like living her life. She's speaking up for promotions. I mean, she is glowing and she's found her voice. So it's things like that that we're able to uncover, where you think it's just clothes, but like it's a lot deeper than that.
A lot deeper than that. I love that. I love it. Wow. This is amazing because a lot of the things that you're talking about, a lot of the skills, a lot of it's not even a thought because oftentimes, when in trauma, you feel stuck and you
Yes.
don't know all of the different tools and things that are available. You don't even, I mean, you're just getting through the day. Sometimes it's minute by minute. So just to be able to hear that and to know that there is help available, right? You're not in this alone. You don't have to walk through this alone. There are amazing coaches like Amanda that can help you, or stylists. I call everybody a coach that's in
Oh,
your ear.
I'm both. I'm a stylist. I'm a closet whisperer, closet therapist. I mean, I'm all the above.
I love that, a closet therapist.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about detoxing their closets, but you already talked about that in just a little bit about the retreats. What does that look like?
Yes. Oh my gosh, the retreats are amazing. So it's the Style and Soul retreat. And it's really about, of course, so we're going to these like beautiful locations in Europe. Like I've done Paris, I've done Milan. Next year I have Florence and Tokyo. So I always pick like fashion meccas. And so it's really an opportunity to be in luxury, to allow yourself to be in luxury, even if you buy nothing. Like, you do not have to buy one thing on these retreats. It's not about that. It's about you allowing yourself to be that next version. And so the retreats are carefully curated by me based on who's joining us. And typically we have a day where we're focused on like high-end designer stores, because it's so fun to just go into a Chanel and have some champagne and like just look at the beauty, right? Another day we're focused on local boutiques, so you can really get the flair and flavor of that city. And then another day we're focused on vintage, because you can find some amazing vintage in Europe and also in Tokyo. There's a great vintage scene. And then all sprinkled within that, we're doing things in the morning, like we're doing meditations and visualizations to help people get clear on their future self and what's next for them. Before anyone even comes on the retreat, they have a session with me to get clear in their vision, so that when they're on retreat with me, everything is very intentional. We're shopping with intention. I know kind of what their limiting beliefs are. I've already got a feel for who they are so I can stretch them on the retreat and help them really step into what's next. So of course, we're also exploring the culture. We're having beautiful meals. We are going to, some of the like temples or just beautiful churches or whatever that looks like, the opera, right? We're having picnics. Like we're just enjoying the beauty of it all and giving yourself permission to just elevate and have fun. So that's really what the retreats, I mean, I love to travel and I love to shop when I'm traveling. So I figured there's a lot of people who are maybe a little scared to travel alone. I don't do it all day, every day. So this was an opportunity for me to create this so that if people felt scared going to like Milan or Paris, I'm there. I've got it all mapped out. I've got you're safe. So
Sounds
that's what
beautiful.
inspired the retreats. I love them. They're so
Oh
fun.
my goodness, it sounds beautiful. You actually relaxed me as we've been going through this conversation. I felt my I felt my levels of energy just going to this relaxed state of being. So you're absolutely fantastic with what you do. Your energy resonates. So I appreciate you for that.
Thank
Is there
you.
is there anything that you want that's on your heart that you just want to share with the people?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine driving down the road, enjoying a beautiful day when suddenly a tree jumps out in front of your car. Crash! In an instant, your life is flipped upside down, both physically and psychologically. That was my reality. I'm Liz Blanding, a certified holistic wellness and trauma recovery coach. In a time when, according to the National Center for PTSD, the epidemic of trauma is on the rise, 70% of adults in the U.S. have experienced some type of traumatic event at least once in their lives. That's 223.4 million people who could benefit from support on their journey to recovery. To address this, I launched the Get Trauma Informed podcast in March 2024. Our podcast offers free information, resources, expert advice, and stories of those who have overcome trauma and shifted from surviving to thriving. The podcast has the capacity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. I believe that by partnering with the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we can provide critical support to many more people who need it. Trauma was not their fault, but recovery is their responsibility. And with your support, we can help them to achieve it. Thank you for considering the partnership opportunity. I look forward to the possibility of working together to make a significant impact on trauma recovery. Email us at info@oasiswellnessctrs.com or contact us at 616-320-0703. Now we will return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
You know what, for some reason it keeps coming up is you have the power to make the decision to be different. So you don't have to stay stuck in who you've been, the trauma, the life that you've been living. You're literally one decision away from the life that you want. And it really comes back to you just making that decision over and over and over again. Don't wait for someone else to tell you that you can do it. Don't wait till you feel completely healed. Just wake up and decide. And I think like especially in this world of coaching and like development and all of that, I think sometimes there's a tendency for people to stay in the excavation phase where they keep digging and keep digging and keep digging. Like, well, why is this happening? Why is this? Let's go back. It's beautiful. You have to do that. Yes. Yet then you get to move forward and don't allow your past to dictate your future. So I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't talk about is just make decision and move forward.
Make the decision and move forward. I'm telling you, you're going to bless so many people with that. And it's those simple things, those simple nuggets that are so powerful, that are so power packed. So how has trauma empowered and inspired you?
Ooh. I think, okay. So as I've gone through my healing journey and as I've continued, like I'm always on this path of self-growth. It's always in my heart to be a better version tomorrow than I was today and to pick myself back up if I'm having a bad day. And I think really what's on my heart is to help other people who need that. So I feel like my purpose is, I've always say I'm a safe space for people to learn to love themselves.
Mm.
And so the more I love myself and the more I heal and choose to be healed, it's lighting the path for others to step in. And so I have to remember that on the days where it feels hard or it feels like I'm up against a wall or I feel like I should just quit. I should just go back and work in corporate. This is hard. I have to stop and remind myself, wait a second. People are watching you. This is an opportunity for you to give other people hope and faith that they can do what's on their heart too. So I think that's really how it's helped me. Like as I've gone through my healing journey, I realized that I have the modalities and I have the understanding to help other people move through theirs so that the world can, I know this is going to sound so like Miss America, but so that the world can be a better place, because I truly believe the more we heal ourselves, the more we light up the world and the more we make it a happier, safer space. And the world really needs that right now. So
Absolutely.
I truly think as we focus on ourselves and also a reminder that like, you don't have to be all the way at the top of the mountain to turn back and offer your hand. So you don't have to have it perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You can still turn back, put your hand out and bring someone up. So I think that's been a really good reminder. That's like a really good way to think about it too. Like I don't have to have it all figured out yet. I can still
Right.
help people where they're going through something where I have healed that. So let me help you.
Yes, yes. You just summarized the Get Trauma Informed movement, the podcast. I wanted to grab this, the Pathway to Trauma Recovery, our book, the collaborative book. It actually dropped a couple of weeks ago, and we've had some sold out book signings. And there's so many people that want to understand how did you overcome this type of trauma? And it's not just one trauma; it's all the different gamuts of trauma. How did you overcome it? What were some of the things? And like you said, I love that point that you just made about you don't have to be at the top, right? You don't have to have all of it figured out. And I think that's the authenticity and that's the genuine message, is that we're not claiming to say that, oh, we have it all together. We, no matter what the optics look like, right? It might look like that.
I am far from perfect.
Right. But the things that we have overcome, the things that we have found the remedy for, we can say, look, this is what worked for me. Pick yours. I say our recovery, our self-care plan is just as individual as our fingerprint. And you can pull something that you just talked about, pull something I've said, pull something, some of the 14 different authors that are in this book that are from around the world that poured out their stories and how they overcame. You can pull that together and say, well, this works for me. I had no clue that how much I like aggressive workout. Like I like an aggressive workout, right? I just love it when it's full of energy. But I had no clue how deep stretching, how it would help me to release a lot of the emotion. And when I first went into a class and I didn't know what it was all about, and I did that deep stretch, I felt so embarrassed because I couldn't stop crying. It was like the emotions were pouring out. And the instructor, and she explained to me that, I had stored trauma from my accident. And so as I was stretching, it was being released. And here I am in my mind thinking, oh my gosh, I invited all these people here and now I'm sitting here crying like a baby. But it was just releasing it. And I think what you said about being in the present, in the now, just having those experiences and realizing what those experiences are. It's better to have that out of your body. All of that toxin that I released that day on that mat, I left it on that mat. Absolutely. And so to be able to put that in your self-care plan, that was a whole different paradigm shift for me. What? I love to stretch. I thought I'd like to be on the, running or on the bike or doing something like I used to love racquetball.
Oh yeah.
Just feeling out what works for you and listening to the voices. Like I could listen to you all day long because you have such an amazing, just your perspective on things that some of us haven't even thought about as far as in our recovery journey. So that's amazing. So what would you say to someone who has faced trauma? What would you say to them?
I would say use it as your tool. So you've been faced with that trauma. as an opportunity to grow. Like, I truly think that when things don't go right for us, it's an opportunity to learn. It's a lesson. And it's simply showing you where you get to strengthen that muscle. You get to strengthen that faith. So if you can find a way to use your trauma, I know it's really hard to say this, but like as a blessing, as an opportunity, then you release that victim energy and you bring in empowerment energy. And I know it's a weird way to look at things, yet if you can start to look at life that way, that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yes.
To stretch and grow. Like the first retreat I hosted last year in Paris, there was a whole incident and I ended up stepping on wine glasses and slicing the bottom of my foot. And I was rushed in an ambulance, hospital, stitches. I was in a wheelchair in Paris for 7 days, leading a retreat. And this is a retreat I had planned for months and months and months. I was so attached to this retreat being successful, which I realize now, like now I can look back and understand, right? And at the time I was like, oh my gosh, how the heck am I going to get through this? Yet I was like, well, I'm not going home. So we're going to figure this out. And I look back now, and that was such a blessing because number one, a lot of people were watching me. They were watching me on social and they were like, holy cow, I can't believe that happened. But wait, she's still leading a retreat. Why is she still smiling? Why is she? And I just realized that people needed to see that. They needed to see that it's not always perfect. Times can be really hard. That was the hardest week of my life. Times can be really hard, yet it comes down to just saying, well, let's figure it out. There's got to be a solution and just moving forward. And I think that also that vulnerability, people realize, oh, you're real. Okay, so you're not this like perfect, stylish person. That's great. You're real. So I can work with you too because I'm real.
Yes.
So
yes, no,
yeah.
I love that. Pain to purpose is what I heard you say every time as you were explaining that. I kept thinking about that. Pain to purpose, right? And turn it that paradigm shift there of turning it into purpose. Wow. This has been absolutely incredible. Just so fantastic. Amanda, if people want to get back in contact with you, I will drop your information down in the show notes. Is there any other contact information that you wanted to share or express today?
No, website is great. People can read more about me, read more about what I offer, read more about the retreats. Instagram, I think you're going to drop my Instagram. If you guys want to DM me, if something's coming up, it's me on the other end. I'll respond back. So I would love to hear from everyone. And you know what I will share is I've got this really cool, I just created this really cool ebook and it's free on my website. And it's The Magic of a Closet Detox. And if you go to my site, like a little pop-up will happen, or you can click on the resources tab and you'll see the drop down there. It walks you through detoxing from a soul level. So it actually gives you the steps. So if someone wants to go in and start to clean out that energy of their closet, it gives you the steps to go through. And then it also, for my ladies, it has key pieces to add back in. So like basics and investment pieces that would be really great to add back into your wardrobe. And fellas, if you want to know what that is, just send me a DM. I'll send you through some items. The ebook is just focused on the ladies for that, but the detox totally works for the men as well. But that would be a really great way for people who are curious and want to learn a little bit more.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And thank you so much for being so open and authentic and just, sharing your soulful style with us. And so I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this is not the last time that we will have you on our show because you just bring so much. And I think this is where we want to be. Like we want to acknowledge the trauma, but we want to move beyond it and not just stay stuck. And that's what you brought for us today. So I appreciate you and thank you so much.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Bye for now, everybody. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you were collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.